Hello everyone and welcome to Game 3 in a best of 3 matchup between Mouz, Hasu and Root QXC here in the Delta Quadrant. QXC spawning over here as the purple Terran player. Meanwhile, as I set my timer, Mouz Hasu spawning over here as the blue Protoss. So Protoss versus Terran here in the Delta Quadrant should be a great matchup. Game 2 on Lost Temple was simply amazing, back and forth, and I couldn't call the game until the final moment. So hopefully this game will be as epic as Game 2. Both of these players are tied 1-1 in the series, obviously, as this is Game 3. QXC, as the Terran player, most likely will be setting up a barracks somewhere here or here, and then followed with a barracks perhaps right here, or yeah, probably right here, enabling him to protect his SCV very, very easily. Meanwhile, back over here at the base of Mouz Hasu, currently warping in that pylon, should be getting about a 13 gateway in just a moment, and now continuing to chrono boost off of this Nexus. Now, Delta Quadrant, one of those maps where a lot of players have a lot of different options in trying to open up the game, and also because of these destructible rocks, a lot of Protoss players try to go Void Rays a little bit more. Now, if you hear some sound in the background, that is my daughter, but my wife is taking care of her. She is getting a little bit fussy for some strange reason, but that's all right, all in a day's work, as we now see a refinery being placed down by QXC. It will be quite some time before Hasu finds exactly where Root QXC has spawned in this best of 3 matchup, as this one SCV now is making its way out across the map. Will quickly come across this location here as a gateway and a simulator is currently being warped in. If this probe had activated this Zelnaga watchtower, I believe it would have given just enough sight to see that this SCV was about to come up this ramp, and now this SCV will get plenty of scouting information relatively early compared to his opponent here, and Hasu still has no idea what exactly QXC is going for. Nothing too out of the ordinary from QXC, a standard one one barracks, and now a second barracks being placed down. A lot of the European players like to place some supply depots back here on the back door. We'll see if QXC does that, as now one Marine quickly coming down the ramp, and we'll see a probe there. That probe now taking some damage already, and that probe will get taken down relatively quickly as a second Marine not being trained. A tech lab now being added on here as QXC starts to build this back door. That one probe is going to have a very, very difficult time trying to get out of here relatively easily, as that probe now hiding off to the north, continuing to wander around on the inside. This one Marine trying to make sure that it can get some damage onto that probe. That probe already down to 14, 8 shields, and now that Marine's going to be microed very, very carefully, and down it goes. Back over here, SCV able to barely escape, and now running back in for more punishment. However, a Stalker will quickly come, make its way in, get some quick damage shots onto that, and now we see a second assimilator coming in, and now, yes, QXC was able to see that assimilator being warped in there. So with that assimilator being warped in, most likely Hasu will be trying to go more of a technological game, as a second gateway already being placed in. And now with a sentry also being chrono boosted, a little bit curious, as now this is going to be a 2-gate into a double assimilator. Most likely we should see a robotics facility coming online next. However, if Hasu tries to go for a 4-gate push, it may be fairly successful. But we do see QXC now getting a bunker on the front door on the low ground, and Hasu just out of sight range will not be able to see this bunker as it's being placed down here. We see one Marauder perhaps just standing around not doing anything for some strange reason, as we are going to be moving out into a 1 racks or 2 racks, one with a tech lab push and stim packs now being researched. This bunker, with that additional +1 range on those Marauders, will be able to deal a lot of damage towards those Zealots as they try to walk down that ramp. In addition to that, what's going to happen is that they may get slow. They are going to get slowed down with those concussive shells, and that's going to end up dealing a lot of damage. And now Hasu probably most likely will lose at least 1 Zealot, if not 2, and perhaps a Stalker. So 2 units quickly will get taken down relatively easily there. We now see one SCV activating this Zelnaga watchtower, as more Marauders and Marines trying to engage over here. We also see a reactor now being placed down as well, but no factory just quite yet. On the other hand, we now see a robotics facility and a Stargate being placed down. So Hasu may be going for Void Rays. Void Rays very, very powerful and very, very strong on this map, just because and I believe those 2 Zealots were taken down earlier. So the Zealots tried to walk out and took some damage. No, the Zealots now trying to take down these destructible rocks instead, as we still have 1 bunker outside this front door. Hasu not wanting to move out, not wanting to engage just quite yet. Couple of Marauders and Marines hiding off in the distance behind, and now we see a Phoenix and an Immortal currently being trained. I'm kind of curious as why it's Phoenix and Immortal, as I'm not assuming that there's going to be any Banshee play whatsoever so far. However, Hasu does not know this. Hasu doesn't even know that there's no factory just quite yet, and still running off of 1 gas. Taking a look at the base at QXC. QXC is at full saturation, I believe. Yeah, currently a little bit behind full saturation here. However, with only 3 SCVs on gas, on 1 gas, it's very easy. And now Marauders and Marines, SCV now trying to walk up that ramp. Going to take a lot of quick damage there, and now trying to back off. There's that force field preventing any of those units from walking up that ramp. That sentry has plenty of energy in its holds, or wherever that sentry holds its energy, in its matrix, I guess. We'll be able to drop additional force fields relatively easily. 2 more force fields, maybe even a 3rd, depending on how much time elapses between these battles. Another SCV now coming to engage, and now place down another bunker over here. 1 SCV, I believe, also on auto repair. No, not quite sure what this SCV is doing. And now we have an observer in the air. The observer realizes what's outside its front door and knows that it cannot move down very easily. This Immortal will be very critical in trying to shoot down and take down this bunker. The Immortal able to fire 8 times with the help of a Zealot in order to take it down. There is 1 natural armor on a bunker. Now in comes a 2nd bunker as well. However, now in comes some Phoenixes. Phoenixes looking for units to graviton beam and shoot them out of the sky. So 1 unit already shot down there. And now we see Hasu just getting plenty of scouting information so far. Marines now trying to get underneath over here, as we still have this observer in the air. So QXC playing a very, very economic game so far, being very careful, also getting multiple, or doing another expansion over here at his natural in order to get a strong economically. And you now see 800 compared to 780, even though QXC is now finally, I guess it's not that big of an economic advantage so far, as also Hasu down over here. He will be able to get this Nexus up and running in just a moment. A 2nd or 3rd bunker now coming in, and now quickly being graviton beamed, and now a lot of damage being dealt. The SCV continuing to build. No, the SCV, it stopped its building for just a moment, so it needs to be reinitiated. And now 3 bunkers will be on this front door. QXC now sitting at 34 harvesters compared to 31, also mining double the amount, as some probes are being transferred to this low ground in-base natural expansion here which was originally blocked by destructible rocks. In comes some more Phoenixes coming, getting in a couple of graviton beams, able to take down 2 more SCVs, and now no missile turrets just quite yet. We do see an armory in play, and I do not see an engineering base, so that armory is most likely for the weapons upgrade on those or to create Thors, but I don't see anything just quite yet. Yeah, we do see a Thor now coming online, and a Thor is able to deal a lot of damage very, very quickly towards Phoenixes. Phoenixes do have 180 hit points and shields combined, so it will take at least 3 rounds of attack in order for a Thor to shoot down a Phoenix. And in comes the Phoenixes. Phoenixes quickly graviton beaming, picking up those units 1 at a time, and now perhaps going to try to go after mules. Mules are very, very marine or mineral sensitive, as those mules are able to mine much more quickly than those SCVs. More Phoenixes just continuing to gather over here. Not enough energy on it for a graviton beam between the 4 of them just quite yet. However, the bunkers down here still holding their position very, very critically, making it very difficult for Hasu to take a 3rd base. What QXC needs to do at this time is continue to just train up more SCVs, and then perhaps try to move out and take up another expansion somewhere on the map. However, those SCVs are quickly getting picked apart. Once again, the missile turret will coming online in just a moment. There it goes, 1 missile turret with a range of 7. Will be able to deal a lot of damage across those Phoenixes relatively easily there. And this 1 SCV continuing to patrol between these 2 locations, making sure there is no proxy pylon or proxy gateway. Another Phoenix coming out to join in on this party, this Phoenix party, as it continues to pick up units to shoot them out of the sky. Back here, we now see, 3 bunkers still in position, production tab, extended thermal lance range, in addition to a Colossus currently being built, and now Phoenix is currently being, a Forge now being built as well, so level 1 weapons upgrade will be coming in momentarily. 2 missile turrets now continuing to be built, and those Phoenixes got to be very, very careful. Those missile turrets deal a lot of damage very quickly as those Marines and Marauders continue to move across the map. Vikings will win in a 1v, I think a Phoenix actually wins in a 1v1 battle against a Viking just because of the sheer amount of hit points that a Phoenix has. And then in comes a Thor. The Thor able to get off 1 round of missile attacks there. Is it able to get a second? No, unable to catch up to the high movement speed of those Phoenixes, and those Phoenixes able to get the heck out of dodge. Phoenixes moving at 4.25. Just wanted to do a quick double check there. Colossus now with an extended thermal lance range, able to attack and now deal damage towards that bunker. That bunker taking a lot of damage very, very quickly. We do see some Vikings now coming in, and those Vikings are going to be starting to deal some damage as well. We're going to see a Guardian Shield. No Guardian Shield as those Vikings now being forced to shoo away once again. Do not want to take any damage from those Stalkers. Colossus will quickly be able to regenerate those shields in just a moment. You can see those shields now regenerating about 1 or about 2 hit points or 2 shield points every second there, as SCVs are getting underneath those Vikings and continue to repair these Vikings, making sure that they're able to deal damage and absorb some damage as well. Phoenix is back over here. Colossus now coming in, dealing more damage across this one bunker. And now in come those Phoenixes. Phoenix is able to deal a lot of damage towards those Vikings. Marines now trying to come in as well. These Colossi should have been able to slice through them very, very easily. And in comes another Thor. So that Thor with a range of 10 on those Javelin missiles would have been able to shoot down those Phoenixes very, very easily. In comes another Phoenix. However, that Phoenix fighting against a really, really bad war there, trying to take down multiple Vikings. And quickly getting shooed away once more. So we have multiple bunkers in this location, and now 3 Thors. QXC massing up a good number of Thors, and as soon as those Thors reach about 5 or 6, I believe it will be QXC's advantage, as Thors are very, very difficult for a Protoss player to try to deal with. And in come those Phoenixes. Phoenix is able to shoot down more of those SCVs once again. 3 quick SCV kills for these 6 Phoenixes as they continue to move around the map, taking down another SCV. We do have more Vikings trying to engage, so Vikings against Phoenixes. Those Phoenixes able to back away, moving so quickly against those very relatively or slower moving Vikings. 2.75 versus 4.25. One Viking down over here has taken some critical damage and lost some shield points, and now in comes 1 missile turret at the center. Those Phoenixes now going to try to deal some damage towards those Vikings, able to get off a round of attack there. Are they going to be able to just shoot down those Vikings? Vikings taking a lot of damage so far, and down goes 1 Phoenix. So 1 Phoenix now taken down over here, but QXC continuing to just macro and contain his opponent. Marines now trying to take down these destructible rocks. Those rocks will be quite some time before they get taken down by multiple Marines. Marines do not deal that much damage. Marauders would have been a better choice in trying to clear out those rocks, as we now have a Phoenix coming over. Phoenix is going to be able to just deal some damage across some of those Marines, and now not even bothering. There we go, finally picking up some of those Marines. 4 Marines quickly getting shot down once again as the Vikings continue to give escort. Mass number of Stalkers. One of those Colossi, I guess, trying to move out, trying to deal more damage. 5,600 versus 5,600 Mineral Army on both sides so far, as a group of Phoenixes just run straight into the Javelin missiles of that Thor. So multiple Thors in different locations able to hold off and deal a lot of damage. We do see 1 Thor off in this direction over here, as another Phoenix, oh no, a War Prism now being engaged. So a War Prism going to try to drop some probes into this location here and perhaps deal some damage. However, it's not going to work. 1 Marine already in this location, as those probes now being placed down, and a probe going to make its way over here, try to warp in a Nexus. However, that is going to quickly be spotted out by QXC. QXC now quickly chasing down that 1 probe. The Marine will get shot down and get lost. However, the damage has been done. Essentially, QXC knows about this additional expansion over here, as Marines and Marauders now make their way towards that expansion there. So QXC, playing a very, very safe game, will be able to contain Mouz Hasu. Stay tuned for part 2 of this replay between QXC and Mouz Hasu here in the Delta Quadrant.